so it is coming up to race week, which means I need to get prepared and get this thing race ready. So let's look at some of the steps I need to do to get this thing to the racetrack so we can have some fun. And step one is filling this thing full of fluids, because without these we go nowhere. So get some of that Penrite goodness into it. Step two isn't overly critical on going fast, but if you're not going to go fast, you better look decent doing it. So Bowden's out. We're going to wash the race car and the tow car. If you can't start your engine, you're not racing. It's as simple as that. So the way I keep my battery charged between race meets is this. It's just a simple trickle charger from Projector, and it fully charges my Optima red top in between races, and that's perfect, and that's all I need to keep that battery topped up and ready to go when I want it. Bolt checking the car is also super important, because this has a lot of solid mounted components, a lot of vibration. We're going at a lot of speed, so if a bolt come loose here on a lot of this custom built stuff, we're gonna have a really bad time of it. So you can see here, obviously in the boot, we've got the catch can sitting up there, and we've got our transmission coil lines apart because we're going to be flushing the converter, but going through the whole car and all the bolts and making sure everything's all buttoned up and tidied up is a major part of what we have to do before we go racing. So obviously a super important step before we go racing is to make sure the tune-up is spot on and ready to go. So let's load a tune-up now that hopefully should see us go fast on the weekend. All right, yep, here we go. That should do it. One of the final tasks is gapping these spark plugs. They have a gap between the electrode and the ground strap, and all we basically do is give it a light tap 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 here, and then I measure with my two feeler gauges. So once this one is no-go, we switch to this one and basically just try and make sure that one only just fits through, and that's the gap we run there, 18th thou. Now, because this is a race car and it goes quite fast, another important part of racing is making sure all our safety gear is here. So you can see there I've got the parachute, and also something that I always leave in my car is my helmet. So this is my Simpson Bandit helmet, and that just sits in the car, and then I can't misplace it. The rest of my gear's in a bag that goes in the car, but can't lose my helmet if it's always just sitting there. Fuel's obviously a massive part of how we go fast and how we go anywhere, to be honest. So these are my fuel drums. Now, I normally only take about, I normally take about 2 to the track, and I leave 20 litres sort of in the fuel cell already, so that's pretty much all we need. Now, to get the fuel into these drums, I actually have to decant it out of a big 205 litre drum to start with, and to do that, I actually lay it. You can see marks here from the paint. I lay the drum there and pretty much tilt the drum and pour it into here. I use this filter here, and you can see it's got some stuff in there from the drum, and that just helps extra filter. I also use that while I'm filling up the car fuel cell to make sure it grabs anything. I also use this little handy spout that just screws onto these 20 litre drums right here, which helps save on mess and methanol splashing everywhere all over the engine bay while I'm chugging fuel into that. So that is how we get the fuel in there. So I've got the safety gear, got the fuel, got everything ready to go. Now, we actually need to make sure that this thing still works. So one of the tests I always do before I go racing is I kick this thing in the gut. So let's see if we can get it started. So most of the stuff that I go racing with in terms of tools and spares and that are always kept in the trailer, in that little canopy area I built at the front of it, so I don't have to pack and unpack stuff all the time. But there is some stuff that sits in the garage, so these are some of the things we need to make sure we're packing up before we go racing. And here they are. So one of the biggest pains of racing is actually trying to get these cars rearranged and out of the garage. As you can see now, the RX7 is in position, ready to dock onto the trailer. So I guess that's the next step. So the last step's pretty self-explanatory. It's loading the car on the trailer, but also checking the trailer and the car's tyre pressures.